Jay Watt, he's the topic of conversation here. He continues to want more money, but as we all know, more money, more problems. So what specifically is holding up a new contract?
Well, people have told you around the league, Scooby, believe that it's guaranteed money, it's term length. A lot of the details that get sticky this time of year, especially as you're leading up to training camp. And I talked to somebody with the team who said, look, these are complicated deals to do, but we are working on it. We want TJ Watt here. So there's not a lot of traction right now as far as a potential trade, although there would certainly be a lot of interest if the Steelers would tap into that. But this is a situation where he's probably going to be the highest paid edge rusher in the league when this is all said and done. It just depends on when the Steelers can do it. Typically, they like to do their deals either around training camp or leading into week 1. So this is far from over.
Yeah, so continue to wait on that, Steelers fans. But within that division is another pass rusher hoping to get paid. Bengals all-pro rusher Trey Hendrickson, and during voluntary workouts, he said it's starting to get personal with the way that they were talking over his contract. I mean, America, it was getting messy. But there is some good news here. What is it?
So it's been a little sticky for sure, like you said, but they have resumed talks in recent weeks. They've been in communication. That is the good sign. It has not led to a deal as of yet, but Cincinnati's plan all along has been to sign and extend their 3 top stars, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Trey Hendrickson. They got the 2 done. They know they need this guy. 17.5 sacks. He was carrying that defense at times last year. It's just, this is a process with a team that doesn't give a lot of guaranteed money beyond year 1 typically, or how they structure their signing bonuses. He wants more long-term security. This is not a year-to-year proposition for him. He's 30 years old, yes, but he feels like he's earned big-time money on a multi-year extension. So we'll see what they can find and some middle ground that they hope to find. If not, he is dug in. I mean, he is prepared to miss time here.
Yeah, it seems like every single offseason we're having some type of contract issues out of Cincinnati. But let's stay with the pass rusher theme here. Michael Parsons, he's due for a new deal. Cowboy fans are sitting there wondering, when is that going to get done?
Yeah, so this is kind of a relaxed situation. You know, when I talk to people involved, they're like, look, it's a lull in the summer right now. Not a lot going on. People are on vacation. Team officials are out on the beach somewhere. Once they reconvene for training camp, Dallas will probably lock in on this a little bit more. Typically, they do their deals late in the calendar, you know, late August, early September. We've seen that with CeeDee Lamb, Dak Prescott, some of their other big deals. They are dedicated to doing this, though, and he's almost a separate situation than those other 2 guys we just talked about, because they're in their 30s, they're going on their 3rd contract. This guy's right in his prime, mid-20s, dangerous player, so he's going to get a massive number. It just depends on when they do it. Shouldn't be a problem. The Cowboys got a lot to spend here. They also got Tyler Smith, one of the top guards in the NFL, who's eligible for an extension as well.
Yeah, good for the Cowboys. Always got big money. Everything's bigger in Texas. And we know in a pass-happy league with talented quarterbacks, you need these guys. Parsons, Watt, and Hendrickson combined for 41 sacks last season. If your team won't sign them, someone else will. All right, to the NFL, where the development of second-year quarterbacks will be one of the major storylines of the season. So y'all know what time it is. It's time to open up them Fowler files. Here with senior NFL reporter Jeremy Fowler. And Jeremy, let's begin in Chicago with Caleb Williams. He gets a beefed-up offensive line, a new head coach. What have you been hearing about him this offseason?
Yeah, so football maturity is going to be a big theme for him league-wide. Talking to other teams are watching it closely because the ability is massive, but how does he comport himself on the field? The Bears have already been working with him on, body language, how you're handling yourself in the huddle, on the sidelines when a play doesn't go right. And the word out of Chicago is he's handled himself well there. Now, some of the previous Bears coaches were not overly thrilled, I was told, that he made public that he's watching film by himself. They felt like he could have handled that a little better from an accountability standpoint. So those are all things people are watching, but word is this offseason he's been great, really taking to Ben Johnson's hard, aggressive coaching.
All right, so what about Jayden Daniels? Because we know this brother was in the MVP conversation his rookie year, coming off a Heisman season in college. What have you been hearing about him after bringing Washington to an NFC championship last year?
Well, he was so good that people wonder, like, hey, is there going to be a sophomore slump here? I was told the Commanders are not worried about that for a few reasons. Number one, Daniels is a maniacal worker. He's like a 5 a.m.er type in the building. So he's putting in the hours. That's no problem. He's also taken off to a hot start with Deebo Samuel, the receiver they acquired recently in the offseason, to get those easy yards, screen passes, plays over the middle, even some rushing attack. So they feel like that's all good. The one thing that could hurt Jayden Daniels right now is Terry McLaurin. Is he going to be there for training camp because of his contract situation? Not happy with where things are with an extension. So they have a couple weeks here to try to make progress, but he needs McLaurin there at camp.
Yeah, that's facts. But well, we got Drake May. He was picked up third.
Yeah.
He's got a new head coach. He's got some new weapons in New England. So how's he looking heading into year 2?
You know, I talked to somebody with the team who said pretty bluntly, like, he looks like an NFL quarterback now. And not that he didn't last year, but when you're a rookie, your head's spinning, you got 100 different things you're trying to worry about as you're getting started. Now everything is calm and collected. He looks composed. So they're ready for a year 2 jump. They feel like they have more around him now. The Patriots have not had a 1,000-yard receiver since Julian Edelman, 2019. So they're hoping rookie Kyle Williams, he's been really impressive. He's hit it off with May. They're hoping he can make a jump. Stephon Diggs, still coming back from that ACL, but he was a positive influence this spring for sure.
And then finally, we got Bo Nix. He brought the Broncos to the playoffs. What are you hearing about him in year 2?
So the Broncos have really urged with Nix in the offense, get off to a stronger start. The last 2 years, slow starts coming out of the gate have plagued the offense a little bit. They want to make sure that they're primed and ready for the playoffs in December, not scrambling to get in. Last year they faced a ton of tough defenses early on. So they want Nix to come out firing early in the season. But they feel like this offseason he showed more of his personality. You know, he's somewhat of a semi-serious guy, especially coming into the league. He wanted to win the job and be the guy. Now he's more personable around the quarterback room. Like, he looks like a quarterback going into year 2 that is fully confident, knows exactly what he's doing.
Yeah, from everything that you're saying, it sounds like all these year 2 quarterbacks are doing a great job, and Nix is right there on that list.
It's the offseason, right? They're all great until the game.
All right, back here on the Rich Eisen Show. Bring on Tommy P, everybody. Bring him on. There he is, back in his old haunt.
You're back. You're home.
What's up, Tom?
Been so long since I was on from here, Rich, that I had to turn the lights on in the backdrop. I'm like,
Hey, look at that.
We brought those up just for you. What's up to my boys in the studio?
Hey, Tommy P.
Tommy.
Tommy P. Love you.
Are we done?
Always have.
Okay. Okay. Good to see you, Tom. What's going on, man?
It's been an interesting week. This is supposed to be a nice, calm holiday week.
Oh, yeah. What? So I saw Rap Sheet was in Tulum. You know, of course, he's just like, oh, let me do a video here. I happen to be in Tulum. Look at me.
Yeah,
I'm in
big
Tulum.
vacation flex.
Oh, my God. Right? Wasn't it?
So he's on Monday. He's about to tour the Mayan ruins.
Yes.
I'm on the Peloton. And listen,
workout flex.
Workout flex.
Jeez.
One's on a holiday flex.
Jesus.
He's on a workout
Flex off.
Oh, master flex.
We all knew the Jalen Ramsey trade. There were signs that was trending toward happening. I get a frantic text like 9 o'clock from Ian being like, hey, don't mess this up. But it's happening. I'm like, I know. He's like, I got bad cell service. I'm in Tulum. And so he's then like live text me being like, I'm about to step into a class where we learn to make paella. Just tell me, just if you speak first, just go from both. I'm like, I know, I got it, man. We've done this 100 times. So yeah, if you thought that Ian normally would be paranoid when a trade's about to happen, imagine Ian on vacation. It is somehow 10 times worse.
Wow. That's insiders right there.
That's inside the insiders.
That is insider information.
Love it. That's fantastic.
Right there. Was he taking that paella class with Costanza's mom? Was that
she got enough paella. What's he supposed to do with all that paella? I can't remember if that was the dish. It was some type of soup. Because then later in the day, after the hours-long freakout, I got a photo, and it looked like some green liquid with croutons in it. I don't know if that's what it was supposed to look like, but he did successfully make something that definitionally was soup.
Fantastic information. Back on the Rich Eisen Show Radio Network. Sitting at the Rich Eisen Show desk, furnished by Grainger with supplies and solutions for every industry. Grainger has the right product for you. Call clickgrainger.com or just stop by. For those now listening in, Tom Pelissero joined us on the Roku channel only segment, gave us some fantastic insider information on Ian Rappaport and him conversing on a June 30th when they're all pretty much on their off time, PTOing. And the Steelers and the Dolphins are like, we got your PTO right here. And let me just put it this way. That insider information, seek it out on our YouTube as well as the re-air of this show or our podcast, because that put the plus in NFL Plus, that information right there. All right. So why did the Dolphins and Jalen Ramsey have to split up, Tom?
This was really something that had been going on, Rich, for several months now, long before it became public when we reported back in April that the Dolphins and Jalen Ramsey and his agent David Mulugeta had talked and that they were going to trade him. This had been in the works for quite some time. And there were things that you've heard a little of this from Mike McDaniel and others in Miami in terms of what the culture was and some things that they felt like they needed to do better. If you rewind to a year ago, the Dolphins were coming off a situation where they had acquired Jalen Ramsey. He suffered that injury in training camp in the early stages, ended up coming back. This is 2023, but him and Vic Fangio never really clicked. And Vic Fangio ultimately was a parting of ways, but really Vic was getting fired. They were going to move on from Vic. He wanted to go back to Philly. Part of that, not the whole part by any stretch, but part of that was Jalen Ramsey didn't like that Vic was very set to his scheme. It wasn't necessarily open to input or have the flexibility to put Jalen Ramsey when he thought were the positions to succeed. And so not only did they keep Jalen Ramsey while moving on from Vic, they also doubled down and paid Jalen Ramsey on a new extension last year in camp that made him once again the highest paid cornerback in the NFL. They also paid Tyreek Hill last year, and again on a deal that had time remaining. And then the Dolphins went through a year that was really frustrating on a lot of levels. They had a ton of injuries. Tua missed time once again. They didn't have either of their pass rushers. They just didn't play great. Tyreek didn't look like himself. And that led them to the point where they needed to really think about what this program was going to look like moving forward here. So in the end then, how that ends up with Jalen Ramsey going to the Steelers, there were on and off talks, Rich, for weeks prior to this. And part of the question was, within the league, would Jalen Ramsey ultimately accept a trade to go to Pittsburgh? He had never played in a cold weather climate before. Of course, Jalen had his thumb on the scale in the previous trades when he went from Jacksonville to the Rams, and from the Rams to Miami. There was a thought that LA was the most likely destination, but the Rams just didn't really have the cash and cap to pay Jalen Ramsey the full amount that he was due. The Chargers, never say never with how they operate in that front office, but never really sounded like they got to a point of making the type of offer that the Dolphins would consider. I know this, Chris Greer, the Dolphins GM, made a lot of phone calls, explored a lot of different things. Many of them were player for player types of trades because Jalen Ramsey had such a big number that if the Dolphins were going to get out of paying most or all of it, and they did ultimately get out from under paying most of it, they were going to have to take a high salary player in return. It just so happened that the Dolphins then also had a situation with Jonnu Smith, who happens to be the Steelers offensive coordinator Arthur Smith's favorite tight end, where he too became available. The Steelers had a guy in Micah Fitzpatrick who's due $15.5 million this season. His ball production in particular over the last couple of years has not been the same. Micah's still only 28, but maybe not quite the same player he was the first time around in Miami. They get a more versatile player, albeit one who's being paid more, in Jalen Ramsey. They think they can do a lot of different things with him. And a bonus out of that trade then is they get a guy in Jonnu Smith who's coming off a productive season in Miami, and based upon his knowledge of the scheme going back to Atlanta, they think he's going to be plug and play despite missing the spring, and he'll be able to contribute immediately.
All right. Well, again, so a lot of numbers you just threw out there. And again, it's a $12 million contract for 1 year for Jonnu Smith, which triples his salary. It's 26.
It's a one-year, $12 million extension.
I got
so
it. Okay.
Probably works out to less than that. But point taken, yes, he's making more money in Pittsburgh than he was.
Right. The Steelers gave him a raise, essentially, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. And the Steelers gave a little bit of a raise to Jalen Ramsey,
not
or no?
Entirely.
Okay.
Jalen Ramsey got a raise, but that's because as conditions of the deal, the Dolphins already paid him $4 million back in March as part of his contract and a bonus.
Yes.
Then they had to take on $3 million, which was really 1.5 from this year and 1.5 from next year. So the Dolphins paid that out as a lump sum with $3 million. So in the end, Jalen Ramsey does make more money, which is great for Jalen Ramsey, another $1.5 million in 2025. But really, that's the Dolphins paying upfront 1.5 of his salary next year for him to end up in Pittsburgh.
Okay, so it's not the Steelers giving it to him, is what you're saying.
Correct.
Okay.
The Steelers are paying the vast majority. The other, whatever you subtract everything, it's around $20 million that the Steelers are paying Jalen Ramsey.
Understood. But and this is one of the many reasons why we have you on, Tom, is because the one of the stories to come out of this trade, or